Okay, we're back for the last part of problem PA2-8. Just a quick recap. We finished requirements 1, 2, and 3. And requirement 2 basically shows the meat of the material that will be used in completing requirement 4, and that is the statement of cost of goods manufactured and sold, and also requirement 5, which is an abbreviated income statement. Okay, and something I want to point out, if you check the reference material at the end of each problem in Connect, you'll notice a references tab and also an ebook and resources tab. And you might find this helpful because it basically gives the student an idea of what section in the chapter, in the textbook chapter, that problem or part of the problem is covering, and it usually gives you an idea of where you can go in the text to get some guidance in completing the problem. And so if we take a look at the bottom, that section of this problem, you'll notice that the financial statements are covered in Learning Objective 2-3. Part of the problem is covered in Learning Objective 2-4 and also Learning Objective 2-5. So what I did is I opened my library tab in Connect, which is where the ebook is located, and I found a section in the text under Learning Objective 2-6, and that's interesting because Learning Objective 2-6 isn't listed at the end of the problem in Connect, but at any rate, you know, if you do enough searching, you can probably find the text section that gives you the guidance that you need to complete portions of the problem. And so if you take a look at the text, it shows us what a statement of cost of goods manufactured should look like on page 63, and then down just a bit further is not an abbreviated income statement, but a statement of an income statement that basically shows us the information that's required in the problem. I think one difference between the example shown in the text here on page 63 and 64 and the way the problem is asking for that material to be presented is that in the text, the statement of cost of goods manufactured ends with the total of cost of goods manufactured, and the income statement includes the information showing the finished goods inventory. And so in the problem, it's asking for this part of the income statement showing what happened to finished goods inventory. It wants you to incorporate that into this statement of cost of goods sold, and as you might notice, into this cost of goods manufactured report, And you might notice that in the problem, the statement title is cost of goods manufactured and sold. And so that's where the information on finished goods is going to be reflected. So this is kind of a more comprehensive statement of what we made and sold. And then the income statement is basically a very abbreviated statement. Anyway, I think it might be confusing trying to follow what I'm saying without actually working through it. So let's try working through it, and hopefully that'll make it easier to understand what I'm trying to say. Anyway, here we go. Prepare a statement of cost of goods manufactured and sold, including the adjustment for over or under applied overhead. And so remember that the cost of what we make is made up of three basic components of cost: direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. So let's take a look at what our options are on the top line. And also, if we go back to the textbook example for the cost of goods manufactured, the first piece of information we want to show is what happened to the raw materials inventory from beginning of period to end of period. And so our first line on this statement is going to be beginning balance of raw materials inventory. And keep in mind, when we do financial statements, our main source of information, in fact our source of information, is going to be our ledger. And so we go back to raw materials inventory, and we note that our beginning balance was 13.4. And then, just as is shown in the T account, beginning balance plus purchases. So we need to show our purchases of raw materials, and that's always an addition. Since raw materials is an asset, we buy raw materials, we add it to that account, and that amount was 93.5. And then and on the next line, we need to show that included in our raw material purchases are indirect materials that are actually included in manufacturing overhead. So we need to take that amount out of our raw material purchases, and excuse me, to get that amount we can go back to our T account and go to our manufacturing overhead account, and that'll show us that the amount of indirect materials was 7,800. And I believe we probably need to put this in as a negative amount. And then the final item to show on our statement is going to be our ending inventory. And whereas beginning inventory is always shown as a positive amount, our ending inventory in this type of calculation is always shown as a negative amount or a subtraction. And so we go back to our raw materials, get the ending balance of 29.3, and again show that as a minus. And the resulting calculation would be the amount of direct materials used in production. What we started out the period with plus what we purchased, which included indirect materials which we take out or subtract, and then we subtract the amount that we ended up with to get the amount that we transferred to and used in production. I should probably continue on with my Excel calculations just to be consistent. And so we need to show beginning raw material, beginning balance 13.4 plus raw material purchases 93.5 less indirect materials. And again, indirect materials are transferred into overhead, so they become part of production through overhead allocation or application. And that amount was 7,800 negative. And then finally our raw material ending balance, which is also subtraction, minus 29.3. And so if we get that total 69.8, this is as shown here on the statement, direct materials used in production. $69.8. And we might want to do a quick check just to make sure that we're on the right track. And hopefully we are. The answer in total is not complete, but what we have there so far is correct. Okay, next portion or next segment of cost used in manufacturing will be for labor, and labor is generally one amount, and we can get that from the work in progress or work in process inventory account, 40,400. And then finally the amount of there's something missing. Oh, there it is. I needed to move the slider down. And the last segment of cost for manufacturing will be our overhead. And our manufacturing overhead used in production is the amount we applied, this $80,800. So when we add direct materials used plus direct labor plus manufacturing overhead, if we go back to my calculation earlier on this Excel spreadsheet, what did I call it here? Total manufacturing costs in work in progress. That's what I called it here. 219.2. Let's see what oh, we're showing the adjustment for over or under applied overhead up in this section. That doesn't show up. That doesn't show up on the that amount is usually called total current manufacturing costs. but for some reason they want to show the and here it is, total current manufacturing costs down here, but they want to show the amount of the adjustment for over applied overhead. And if we recall, from our calculation here, over applied manufacturing overhead, the amount was 28.3. Let's try punching that in. And that shows our total manufacturing costs as 160.27. Let's continue working through this and see how this works out. This confuses me right here, showing this adjustment for over or under applied overhead. Let's see how that works out. Our beginning work in process inventory is 28.2. to give us total work in process of 199. That's not a total we can trace to our ledger account. Then we would probably have to subtract our ending work in process inventory balance, which was 19.1. And that total would give us cost of goods manufactured. Now let's pull out our so we have our direct materials used in production. That's this amount here. Let's add our direct labor of 40,400 and our manufacturing overhead applied. And I'm going to go right down to, I'm going to get a total here. So we got 69.8 plus 40,400 plus 80,008, 191. And this would normally be called total current manufacturing costs, as opposed to what's showing up on the statement here, 162.7, because of this adjustment in here, which I'm not sure about. And then we account for work in process beginning and ending inventory. WIP beginning and WIP ending balances. So the beginning balance is always a plus 28.2, and the ending balance is always a minus. And let's see what that total is. Okay, and if I recall correctly, this would be the amount that shows up as cost of goods, cost of jobs completed in the ledger account. Cost of jobs completed. That's basically my approach to doing this statement. Cost of jobs completed during period. Okay, 200,100 as opposed to what's showing up on the statement at this point, which is 199 minus the ending work in process inventory. I'm going to do that one on my calculator. 190,900 minus 19,1, 171,8. Okay, cost of goods manufactured, 171,8. And I show 200,100, and I believe the difference is in the over applied less over applied manufacturing overhead, which was that 28.3. And then if we take a total, we take a total there, our total should be the same, and it is 171.8. So I'm going to call this adjusted cost of jobs completed during period. So it's just a matter of where you show the adjustment for over applied manufacturing overhead. This statement is showing it up here, which is what kind of confused me, because you don't normally show it up there. You would normally show it down here near the bottom of that calculation, but the end result is still the same. Adjusted cost of jobs completed during period is 171.8. Now we need to incorporate the information for finished goods, and basically what it means is that we show beginning finished goods inventory as a positive amount and ending finished goods inventory as a negative amount. So beginning finished goods inventory and ending finished goods inventory. Oh, beginning is a plus. There we go. Plus beginning, less ending. And our finished goods inventory amounts are in the ledger, 41.3. And our ending balance is 49.5. That's a negative. And so our unadjusted cost of goods sold I'm beginning to see what it looks like they did up here. I'm going to take this adjustment out up here. So this would mean our total is 219.2. Let's get our worksheet back out here. 191 plus 28.2 minus 19.1, and this would be 200,100. Then we add our beginning, subtract, and add our cost of goods available for sale, which is the total of our cost of goods manufactured plus our beginning inventory and finished goods. That's the total of our jobs that were available for, that we could have sold. And then we subtract out the amount of our jobs that we didn't sell, and that would give us the amount of the cost of our jobs that we did sell. So I'm going to take this out and show our beginning, finished goods, beginning balance, and finished goods, ending balance. Beginning balance is always a positive, 41.3. Ending balance is always a negative, minus 49.5. And if we take a total of cost of what we completed, added to beginning, and then we subtract out the ending, that'll give us the unadjusted total of cost of jobs sold. Okay. And then we adjust for over applied manufacturing overhead. And that was a minus 28.3. On the statement, this should be 191.9 right here. 241.4 minus 49.5. 241.4 minus 49.5. Yeah, it is 191.9. And then we show the over applied overhead as a negative 28.3, and that should give us our adjusted cost of goods sold, 163. $163.6. So that's this 191.9 minus 28.3. 163.6. So this is a little interesting because basically we have two unused slots here, and I'm not sure if this is what the textbook authors are looking for, but hopefully you're able to follow my calculation here. It's kind of a long calculation all in one column, just as it is on the statement here. But the next thing to do would be to go to check my work and see what that looks like. And I have a feeling we're going to see some red, but maybe not. So we got it. It's all okay. And I haven't worked through this for a long time. Probably a couple of years. The last time I taught this course was spring 16. So I was a little confused by these empty spaces. They were kind of throwing us some curveballs to see if we would swing and miss. And I guess initially I did swing and miss, but ultimately I did a backtrack, and I think I was able to get this done correctly. So our total manufacturing overhead, our total current manufacturing costs includes direct material, direct labor, and overhead. 191,000. Then we account for beginning work in process, ending work in process. Beginning is added, ending is subtracted, and that gives us the total of cost of goods manufactured. This is the total of cost of our jobs that we completed. And then we add that to our beginning finished goods to give us the total cost of jobs that are completed and available for sale. And then we subtract out the cost of jobs that we didn't sell to get the cost of jobs that we did sell. 191,900. However, that amount is adjusted for over-applied overhead in the amount of 28.3, which gives us an adjusted cost of goods or cost of jobs sold of 163.6. Now, it'll be a relatively simple matter of plugging this into the abbreviated income statement. The first amount on our income statement is always our revenue. And that should come right out of the ledger account, 308,000. And then since we have calculated the adjusted total of cost of jobs sold, that should be our next amount here. Cost of goods sold or cost of jobs sold, and I think I should probably show this as a negative amount. Sometimes I want it as a positive amount, but I'm going to show it as a negative amount. Minus 163.6. It is subtracted, and so when we subtract cost of goods sold from sales revenue, the difference is our gross profit. And I'm going to do this one on the I guess I'll do it on the Excel spreadsheet. Sales revenue was 308 minus 163.6. Cost of jobs sold, and the difference is gross profit, and that's going to be the total of those two. Let me see that amount again, 144.4. And then finally we subtract out our selling, general, and administrative expenses of 59,000. Selling, general and administrative salary expense. Here, this is the one we want. Selling, general, and administrative expenses to give us our net income. Selling, general, administrative expenses of $59,000, and our net income then is $85,400. And let's check it. Fingers crossed. We're okay. Okay, so it looks like we are good. It's a little tricky. Statement is always a little tricky. But what's probably more important than the actual putting the actual statement together is being able to work through the transactions and get them all properly recorded in the various ledger accounts. That's probably a lot more challenging. And then putting a statement together is basically arranging the information in a format that accurately portrays the flow of goods and what happened in terms of the dollars and cents. I hope that makes sense. I guess at this point we should be able to submit. And it looks like we got 15 out of 15. So we are good to go. Okay, I want to thank you guys for going through this with me. Let me save my Excel worksheet as well. I want to thank you guys for going through this with me. And the last assignment, well, of course there's a test, so you need to get that done. But the last assignment is that SDC2-3 skills development case. Essentially, it's a little bit longer problem, and it's probably a little bit more comprehensive in terms of what it's asking you to do. You need to journalize transactions, post them to the ledger, and then from the ledger prepare basically the financial statements that we just did. Cost of goods manufactured and the income statement. I'm not going to prepare a video presentation for that. I think you guys should be able to work through that. But by all means, if you have questions or need help with anything, let me know. You can email me anytime and I'll help you in any way I can. Thanks a lot. And today is Monday, the 12th, and so this material along with SDC 2-3 is due on Sunday the 18th, after which time we'll continue on with Chapter 3. So thanks again, and I'll be in touch soon. Aloha.